G'day everyone, Professor Maple here, and I've got a new tutorial for you. We're revisiting the subject of clearing water in Minecraft, especially for 1.13 here. We're in the pre-release of this, so I imagine water's not going to change too much between now and the full release of the update. We've got our two classic ways of clearing water. We've got our sponges, which work. We've got our doors, which work, and I've got a bit of a sort of scaled up example I want to show you in a bit here. But basically, in order to clear water in Minecraft, you want to make sure that you've got either your dry sponges, or your doors. And for the case of sponges, it's just a matter of setting them up in a confined space, and eventually the lag will stop. There we go. My system's a little laggy compared to others, but you just want to make sure you get all the water blocks. It might be a little tricky just because if you space them too far apart, then they won't catch everything. They'll catch most things though. But yeah. So sponges, they still work. They're good. Now, in the case of doors, it's still pretty much the same process. Even though water has changed for 1.13. Oh, and let's get that night vision potion going on here. There we go. Because it gets dark when you go in and out of water like this. So you could still get your air by placing doors underwater, even though there are waterlogged blocks that sometimes, like if you place a trapdoor underwater or a sign or something, I believe those will now become waterlogged when you place them. And then you just do your usual place of sand. And one thing I didn't show in the 1.8.4 version of this tutorial, which I really should have, is that when you place a torch, it will actually now it's not going to do it because I've not done the whole way up. But for the sake of this tutorial, we've got just placing a torch as we take that sand block out will take out all the doors and sand above it, and eventually it'll take out everything there. Now I'm not sure if I did a very good job of showing last time, but shallow water, just place doors if it's 2 blocks tall. Well, you've got this area here that's now free of water, and you could just keep going with that until you've got your perimeter set up. With the doors and with sponges, before you remove the outside doors especially, or before you even place the sponges, you do need to set up some sort of a wall around the area you want to keep the water out of, like we have here, because otherwise it starts pouring in pretty quick. Now what we've got over here is basically a scaled up version of the doors placement here. Now you'll hear a few mobs hanging out in here. It gets pretty dark underwater, and if you're doing this in survival mode, I recommend being very careful if you try doing the doors on a massive scale like this or bigger kind of thing. Now, one thing you do have to keep in mind again is you need walls in order to remove these outer layers of doors on the sides. Otherwise, you can pretty much just, even in survival, again, as long as you're careful, just hop in, take out maybe a section of doors here, and you can see there are mobs everywhere because we're underwater, and that's just how mobs in the ocean are going to work. They're going to find that that space where they can spawn and just go ham there. So if this bat would get out of my way, everything always seems to go wrong when I try to do a tutorial. Okay, nope, no more bat. I was going to cut that out, but I'm going to leave it in because you need to know what sort of things you're going to come up against when you do this in survival. So we're going to place that torch there as we break the sand block, and then all the other sand blocks, the falling entities coming down, will also break. And eventually, if we keep doing this, we're not only going to light up the surface here, which is probably for the best anyway at this point, but we're also going to end up with a little bit of lag as we do it. But we're going to get this nice open, almost looks like a jail. We're going to get this nice open area of water-free stuff. So we could, if we're clearing our guardian farm, we can put that in there. We can clear our area for a witch hut, make that more efficient. We can do whatever there. Now, a few things I do want to go over quickly though, is when you're placing your sand, and keep in mind you can definitely place your sand and your doors before you put your walls up. You kind of have to place your sand and then your walls and then your sponges if you do it that way, and you need more walls, whereas you can save so much sand but just by doing a large area like that instead of 3x3s like this. That's one of the things I wanted to go over. Another thing I want to go over is when you place sand, you have to be careful because some things that grow on the sea floor, like sea pickles, the kelp and the seaweed and seagrass and stuff, and I believe also coral, like the fans and whatnot, they will break the sand into an entity and make it unable to block the one higher there. Make it unable to. Oh, maybe it's too tall seagrass. Oh, hi, dolphin. Now, usually they will break the sand off, and you have to actually take that out from the seafloor before you do too much sand placement. Otherwise, you should be good to go, and I hope moving water goes well for you. Have fun making your guardian farms and your witch farms, and whatever your underwater bases, I don't care. I just wanted to show you this still works in 1.13. So have a good now, have a good later, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!